I always just tell people you just gotta like soak it up.
Hi guys, I'm Jack Payne and this is the Friday Sponge, where I sit down with founders, operators, and leaders to talk about the part of the story nobody tells. The decisions, the risks, the lessons from long before success was obvious. Real stories, real business. Let's get into it.
Really, the reason why I wanted to sit down with you guys is this. I think that a lot of kids in college right now are freaked out by the job market. They're told that the chances of them getting a job is not going to be taken over by AI. And I want to give some kids some inspiration. And the best way I can do it, I think, is by connecting with entrepreneurs and business owners so that these kids can see that there's a wide variety of ways for them to become successful. But the best thing they need to do first is really harness the ability to think like an entrepreneur. And I was inspired by both of you for different reasons. Of course, with you, Mike, chief of police in Elmwood, and then Jimmy, with your background as well, which I gotta say, man, you're a killer. So I really do appreciate taking some time with me here. Yeah. And I just love the fact that you both were able to pivot from maybe one career path and continue to still be great at that job, but decide, hey, I have a little extra time on my hands. How can I build a business?
So to correct one thing you said, we have a little extra time. We don't. We're busy, you know, full-time police officers, both fathers, husbands. That right there is enough for, you know, you don't have time for that stuff. So then you find something that you love, training, exercising, lifting weights, self-defense, competing. And then that's easy to pursue in addition, right? Because it starts out as a hobby. Or for Jimmy, I'll let him speak on it. He was a 9-year-old kid who didn't have necessarily a father figure, and he found that route through Tiger Schulman's, but you need some sort of motivation. There's a million things we could do and make money at doing and make good money, but if you don't love it, how long is it going to last, or how good are you going to be at it? So the main ingredient to me, anyway, is loving what you do and making it a passion. And I love being a chief of police. I love running a police department. I'm also the administrator for the town. This is my town. I love this. This is what I live for. I get up for it, in addition to my family, of course. But you need something else. And that's the desire, the compassion, the passion, all that stuff is what makes people successful at something.
And to your point, time. I feel like everyone complains about time. I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do that. But from what you just shared, Mike, it's like, look, you're going to make time for something that you're passionate about, right?
Yeah.
But then also with you, Jimmy, right? Like, you made time for the sport, but then what inspired you to, or inspired both of you to go out of your way and make time for not just the sport now, but actually spreading it to others by starting a business? Because you could have easily just been a trainer or maybe taken over a space, right? And just been like, hey, I'll hold sessions here, but I don't actually have to deal with the staffing, the payroll, all of those different things. Like, what took it from just being a passion to maybe wanting to be someone who actually owned the practice for either of you?
Well, I started when I was 9 years old at a Tiger Schulman school. I've been with them over 27 years, 28 years. So my mom brought me in for discipline. I was getting picked on in school as a new kid at school. And I acted out at home. And then from there, I was walked in. It was an unbelievable experience. And then fell in love with it. A couple months down the line, the kid that was always picking on me was able to defend myself. And from there, I just trained and trained. I really wanted to get my black belt. I got my black belt. I helped out there. And then when I got my working papers at 13, I started working at the Ramsey school. From there, that led on to being head instructor at a couple of schools. And then by 22, I took over my first school. We had the city school at the time that was closing down. It was a 2-man school, and we had one school, one on the east side, one on the west side. I took over ownership of the east side on Gramercy, right across from Madison Square Park. And what really took me that wanted to do this was, when you learn and you're in the martial arts, it's not just about getting better and perfecting your technique and doing all this stuff. So it's about giving back. So it's about, hey, you know, now I learned this and I need to help other people out, especially as a black belt. It's not just getting your black belt, but being good and at the same time being a leader. So a lot of that has to go back to just attributes that they instilled me at the Tiger Schulman schools. So always been in the line of work, but what really thrived was that, hey, can I do something that doesn't make a living? Fighting, for me, even though I made it at a high level, when you don't fight, you don't get paid. Just because you have a fight coming up doesn't mean you get paid. You have to walk into the octagon, let the bell ring, and then that's when you get your, what they say, show money. And if you win, you get your win money. But you're not always guaranteed to show money. There's been fights that have been pulled because someone got hurt, someone got sick, literally the week up. So you do all those 2 to 3 months of training to not get paid for or reimbursed. So you need something that you enjoy. What better way to make money but by doing something you enjoy, which is very hard and rare for a lot of people. A lot of people are in a job that they don't enjoy. There's a very few people that are in a job that they enjoy. So what came along with that was Next owned a school, which had a very successful school in the city until COVID happened. And my students went to the other schools that we have in the city. And I ended up opening up a school with Mike, his son, and Mike Trezano, who is another police officer and a professional fighter and one of our partners in the school in Short Hills. And that's what I enjoyed a lot, was teaching and doing it. And then being a young business owner, learning how to do it, and then making my mistakes along the way, but learning from the mistakes and growing.
And just like in the octagon, you can't necessarily be prepared. You have this plan, you've been working for weeks, you've been training, you've been talking to the right people, but then you get punched in the face. And it's like, how do we pivot from there? Do you feel like your time in the ring, or just maybe your time on the force, allowed you to be comfortable with the unexpected, which is what has really allowed you to become such a great business owner?
So this is a big thing. And I was explaining to someone the other day. People are like, oh, you own your own business, you get to do whatever you want. I'm like, you have a business, but you don't really get to do whatever you want. People think owning a business, you could, take off and do whatever. And I'm like, yeah, you could take off what you want, but your business suffers when you're not there. That's number one. Number two, you're always working. Just because you own a business doesn't mean you're not doing stuff all the time. If people are reaching out, it's 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, and you're trying to spend time with your family, you're trying to go to bed, you have to reach out to that person, plus on top of the stress. I've been doing this my whole life, so it's a little easier for me to do.
So when you transition to the seat of being a business owner with a franchise, probably a little bit different than when someone just starts completely from scratch, because there is a playbook. Like you said, Tiger, he has a way of doing things. With a franchise, are you able to put your own little spin to it, or do you kind of have to follow the rules?
You can, but there's some gray area you can work with. You know what I mean, too. So it depends on the situation. For example, for me, I grew up with a single mom. We didn't have any money, really. And when I went to the school, we actually couldn't afford it. So the instructor made a deal with my mom that we would come in every Saturday, clean the school. She would pay a little bit of tuition, and we would clean the school on Saturdays and do like a whole kind of like deep cleaning. So I appreciate that, especially later on in life, not right away. And then from there, that took me into where I had a parent the other day that, she was honest. She's like, yeah, I'm a single parent. She thought the program was a once a week thing. No, it's twice a week. She's like, oh, I can't really fit that in my budget. I said, don't worry about it. I'll take care of the other half. You just pay, half of a monthly rate, have your son come in. He needs it. He needs Outlook, and I'll take care of you. So there is some of that little gray area where you can help people out.
Yeah, and that's important to us because, first of all, community policing is huge for us, right? And you got to be out there. You got to help people. You got to have compassion. And in Tiger Showman's, there is that playbook, that rule book, but we kind of bend it a little because he and I and my son, we speak the same language where you got to help people. You can't just chase the dollar. If you just chase the dollar, people are going to see that quickly and you're going to get a reputation. We're not a food distributor. We're not a restaurant. We're not giving you a plate of pasta for free and then we're losing. We're giving time and there's a value to that, but not really a financial value. So it's a little easier for us to be able to give a membership away or discount something because we're not really sacrificing a product there. But that's so important to us because we're both guys that care about people and want to help people. And then the money's nice on top of it, but it's not all about, if you're just chasing the dollar, it's not going to be a good look.
So the experience itself is something that's so important. I think people will go out of their way. They'll go miles, or they're going to refer you when they think about a gym they want to bring their kid to. So that's why I can't agree with you more. I think sometimes giving up the short-term dollar to think about how you can really impact the community, it's going to pay dividends in the future, right? And I think a lot of people have to remember that building a business isn't this overnight success. You really have to build an image and you have to build a brand that
and is going to last for years.
Yeah, the reputation you're gonna earn by being a good person and treating people with respect and helping them out, rather than just say, nope, that's the membership, and if you can't afford it, then I'm sorry, you can't train here. That, how far is that going to get you, right? I mean, and it's the short-term discomfort for the long-term gain. Me and my son, before this, we opened a school in West Orange, Tiger Schulman's, from scratch with another partner. And for the first, I don't know, I want to say 6 months, 8 months, I was coming out of my pocket $5,000 a month just to break even. And then finally we figured out like we should be in a school together. And I sold that and we moved on. And now we're profiting every month. And our students have gone to 300 students.
Oh, a little over
300 students. I mean, and it's growing every month because I think we have the right personalities together, like-minded people, doing things, committed. And, you know, he's a full-time cop. I'm a full-time cop. We have other things. My son, that's his job, and he's an owner there. And Mike is a police officer too, and a fighter. So putting all that together, all our energies together and our time makes it work.
And I think having multiple owners, sometimes if you're only doing this, you know, Mike and I have 2 other jobs, you know what I mean? You can lean on that other person to help you out.
And our staff is built from students. Aside from the owners, we have a staff of how many? 5, 6, 7 people?
We have 4 people, about 2 or 3 volunteers.
Yeah, so they all came from students that you take a notice in and you say, oh, that person is here, they care, they want to learn. Let's welcome them in and build them up and train them our way.
And it's a better product if you think about it. If you're hiring someone you don't know compared to someone you taught for about a year or 2 or even 6 months, you get the feel of how that person's going to be and if they're going to be worth it. Instead of my wife going opening a coffee shop, you just hire people based off their interview recommendations, and that doesn't always work so well. And it's always better, you know, to hire within. But some places don't have that to be able to hire within. We're lucky that the business we run, we can, and that's all we do, and that's all the owners are. As everybody that owns a Tiger Showman School has been an organization for 10+ years, or even like 6+ years. They've been around for a very long time. Where this person is going to do really well as an owner, they just need a little bit of direction, but they'll be able to be successful and run a business.
What are some different ways that you encourage people to stay besides just great leadership, being a good mentor? Like, are there things that a lot of people miss out on when they first think of building a business?
I think with that is understanding the value of the person. If this person can only do this much, then I'm going to pay him this much. If this person can do even much more, they're going to pay what they're worth. So it's understanding the value, being able to pay some more, being able to say, hey, listen, if you learn this stuff, I can increase your pay because you learn this stuff, you could do even more for me and it helps me. So therefore you're worth more to me. Understanding your values worth, understanding where sometimes let other people do it and just pay them to do it. Teach people how to do it, invest their time, they'll come back and it'll help build and make more money for both. So it's just certain things like that, understanding, I think, how much it costs. Sometimes better to delegate it to someone else than do it yourself. Those are just some ideas that come about when we talk about that.
I think, too, with the employees, like making them feel like they're part of the team is important, right? And it's more than money. Listen, you can make, and there's never enough money to make. So you compensate them well, but it's not only about the money. It's about time off. Appreciating what they do. We always say to each other, we got to make sure we take care of Angel, because if we lose him, it'd be really hard to replace him, because he's a great instructor. He's a great guy. The students love him. And what we do is, like when we have camps on President's Week or in the summer, we let him run it and we let him keep all the money. So it's just a little way of showing him that we appreciate you, we care, because you gotta reinvest in your employees. Otherwise, it's a revolving door, and then your bottom line is going to suffer.
Absolutely. And I guess one thing that's important as well, right, is as partners, you come in and you don't really have to incentivize each other to stay, right? Let's just say in the future, there comes a point in time where you want to sail off into the sunset, you want to retire. How do you structure a business so that when someone is ready to leave, but someone isn't, let's say Jimmy wants to stay in here with your son, but you want out. How do you structure it so that
you can get your fair share because there's no IPO, there's no secondary market for you to maybe be able to sell it off. I assume you just sell it back to your partners, right? How would you do that?
Yeah, so we have an agreement that first, if somebody wants out, they have to offer it to the remaining partners first. And then if not, then you would go back to the organization because you just can't sell it to anybody.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the term is like a buy-sell agreement. Is that kind of what you guys have in place right now?
Shareholders agreement, we call it.
Okay. And that just kind of lays out the terms of everything, right? It says like Mike has 25%, Jimmy has 25%, Mike Jr. has 25%, and then your fourth partner comes in, they got 25%.
It doesn't just lay out to, like you said, shareholders agreement. It doesn't lay out just who owns what percentage, but, you know, the responsibilities for what needs to get done. If they don't hold up to those responsibilities, then they can be voided out and they're against their agreement. That's, you know, when you go to courts. So it's just kind of one of those things, even though we're friends and we're all really good friends, just to protect everybody, which is just one of the things you do more when you're going to business that you don't know with someone, but just in case all of a sudden someone's, even though you know them for 10 years, they just decide to change or something like that. So there's always things to watch out for yourself first. Nothing against either one of us.
No, but like our other partner, Mike Trezano, he's married. Let's say he goes through a bitter divorce. His wife wants a part of the business. You know, we have to be protected in that right, that an outside party doesn't want an interest in our business.
And if you were to want to expand and grow the business, maybe to upgrade the space or hire more people, because it's a franchise, can you go to Tiger Schulman and say, hey, you know, we want more funding from you guys. Can you go and get outside capital? Someone that's going to invest in you as a limited partner so they're not actually dealing with something on the day-to-day, or how does that work?
If we want to hire or fire people, that's on the owners. It's not on anything with the franchise. Would they give us money to open up another school? No. But would they want to invest into someone? Yes. Can you open another school? Yes, depending on where it is, with their approval. When you're doing it just by yourself, you don't have the help of the franchise with certain things like marketing.
They give you lawyers, they give you architects, they give you whatever.
If it is a loan, and let's say, for example, there's different loans. You know what I mean? Like, for example, when I took over Gramercy School, it was a handshake loan because if I didn't do well, they wouldn't have the franchise. If I did well, then I did well and owned the franchise. So from there, it was a handshake deal where I took some of the profit to myself, and the other profit I would pay back Ron Showman because it was his school at the time, and I didn't have a loan on it. So sometimes people invest their time and money into that to get paid back. So that was, you know, always an option. Another option is, you know what I mean? You could give a regular loan. If I wanted to give a loan to someone, maybe I would say, hey, listen, you know, the school's worth $200,000. I'm going to own 50%. You owe $100,000. Once you start making $40K, this is what your pay will be. When you get to 45, you get a little more pay. When you get to 50,000 a month, you could start buying the shares. And this is what the loan's going to start. It's going to be, whatever, 2-year loan with X amount of money that you're going to pay for 2 years, no interest or a little bit of interest. It depends on what you want to do for that person, you know what I mean? And how you want to do it. If I had money, I would say, I want you to open a school. You know what I mean? So this way, it helps. But I was always a firm believer, and it's a rare occasion where you find a couple people, I guess like me, that someone that's going to say, if they're going to own a business with you, to put some skin in the game, put some money in the game. So like, hey, you're going to own a business? No problem. Listen, you can't afford the whole thing. Put $10,000 down. The other $90,000, we'll do a loan. We'll set something up. So now they have $10,000 invested, and they're like, shit, I want to make that back. Plus, I want to be successful. So there's different things you could do. You know what I mean? It all depends what it is. Like they say businesses with like the food industry, you really don't make anything back or start seeing yourself a little bit of the green until about a minimum of a year. 2 years is like the max, so like a minimum of a year. And having my wife own a coffee shop, help her with it, I see what it is. It's very different. It's also different too because it's a different product. So is it going to be successful in the area? Is it going to be really good? I think one of the biggest things is location. I think Short Hills location, all the surrounding towns, is a very good location. I mean, taking business class in high school, one of the biggest things that we said, the 3 L's, location, location, location. Find a spot. Where's the location where you're product is going to sell and do really well. There's a lot of different things in it. I think the hardest thing for people is like that they can open up a business. Like, for instance, do you know the background on the whole Liquid Death? Do you know what Liquid Death is?
Yeah, the water brand.
So Liquid Death, he was a marketing guy that just had this like logo and stuff, but he didn't have a product. So you couldn't figure out what he wanted to do with it until he finally figured out, hey, I'm going to do this with it. And then from there, he took that company and just grew it to, I don't know if it was close to the billions, but the millions of dollars. But all he had to start with was like, hey, I got this marketing idea. I got this logo. I don't know what product I want to do with it. So there's different things. It's a hard thing finding your niche. And I deal with it personally because I have someone, my wife who's she's really good at her job, but she's not her passion. She wants to do something different, but she's very good at her job. Really, really good. That's like him being the police chief, really good with all this stuff and legal stuff and naturally stuff like that, but just doesn't enjoy the job. So it's like a hard thing to come to. And I think with the next generation growing up, you have all these people in college, and I'm not against people in college, but like, know what you're going to do before you get in there. But how can you ask an 8-year-old kid, like, what does he want to do? I know people that I dated that went into college and then all of a sudden changed their major like 3 or 4 times. So, and it's one of those rough things where like, hey, you went to college for this, or like you were enrolled in a nursing program, then you decided to be an art major and realized, I don't want to do anything with art major, and then went to a nursing accelerated program where you were already enrolled in nurse. So it's a hard thing for young kids. But I think the biggest thing that's going on that you see is if you know exactly what you want to do and you need that diploma to get it, go get it. But if you don't have to waste or spend your money in college and go to a trade school, do that. There's a lot of trade schools out there. I think it's getting bigger because you can't have a robot come out and take care of your plumbing. So as the years go on, you have to adjust.
There was 2 other things I just wanted to ask you. One, what should everybody know about going to business with your friends?
Going to business with friends?
Depends on what kind of friend it is.
Well, like he said before, everybody's friends until it's time to not be friends. So always be protected. That's first and foremost, because you never know what could happen, right? But I also encourage that because if like we get along, where there's an age difference, but I'm him.
Age is just enough.
20 something years later, like he's going to be the same as me when he's my age. And I was like him when I was his age. So be around people that you're comfortable with and you think alike, because it's not gonna be this. It's gonna be this together. So I think it's a good thing as long as you're protected with some kind of legal document in writing.
And there's always pros and cons to it. It's not bad being with someone that's not completely the same mind as you, because you want to kind of feed off like, all right, what do they think? They might have a different point of view, but you both have to.
But it can't be the opposite, because that was what the downfall was. What my other franchise, my other Tiger Showman's is me and the other guy. It was like, I mean, we almost had fist fights like 2 or 3 times because he was just in left field and I was in right. And
well, that's what I was trying to say. That you can have different views, but you have to be able to compromise. If you can't compromise or say, hey, let's try this way. If it doesn't work after come on, let's try that way. Then it's not going to be worth it. Just go in the business by yourself.
What's next for you guys? I mean, obviously you're in different stages of your life, as you mentioned, right? You feel like you're the same age, which is awesome. I think that should always be, right? We're all good forever in our 20s. We're all forever in our 30s. But there's going to come a point where maybe there's just different priorities. Like, at what point do you decide, hey, some of that extra cash flow, instead of going towards the gym, maybe he wants to go towards that vacation house. Maybe you decide, Jimmy, you're like, I'm start my own brand now because I'm in bare knuckle. I want to take some of that extra cash away from the Tiger Schulman gym and put it towards that. Like, how do you start to figure out when and where to reprioritize versus just going right back into the business?
This is more for my son than it is for me. Like, he found his niche and now he owns a business. So I'll just keep reinvesting in that. And then when I retire, I'll have more free time to invest in the school and just make it grow even more. I look forward to that day. And the school is doing so well, we don't go into our pocket for anything. So we don't have to redirect any money. And it's something that you can Yeah, it's something that is sustainable long term because of those reasons.
To me, I'm in the same kind of boat where I think eventually when I retire from this job as being a police officer, I'll still be in the school and do something. I don't think I'll ever retire. If anything, like we have goals to build a school too. So if we reach that goal, maybe it would be something like, all right, do we want to now open up another location, invest in that? When people know how to work like him and I think that's one of those things like, all right, what are you going to do when you get older? You got to have some purpose and we enjoy what we do. So it's like one of those hard things like, I don't think we'll ever stop working and teaching, whether he's teaching at the school or he teaching, it's a fun thing. You get to give back. There's enjoyment. So if you find enjoyment in helping people, it's kind of hard not to do the job.
I mean, it all circles back to what you guys said from the beginning, which is you're passionate about it. You love it. This isn't a job if you love it. And you're with great people too. So I feel like the biggest thing people have to understand is like, look, owning a business is hard work. You have to make time for it, but it's going to be easier to do if you're passionate about it and you surround yourself with good people.
Find something you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I'm sorry about the tech issues. And if I didn't say it already, thank you to both of you for serving the community. You guys do not get enough gratitude and thanks. So I do appreciate everything you do for all of us to keep us safe.
Thank you. Toughest.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Well, thank you, gentlemen.